talking about? Oh, no, we ain't on that one yet. Yeah. Look, and we're back, Jack. Y'all already see what's going on. Y'all heard what's going on. Oh, let me get out the. Show y'all what's going on here. So, okay. Diddy call contain. Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, yeah, Mike Myers. Okay, this is the first time I heard one came out from the other side. That's strange. That's the first time I seen one from the other side come out. That's uh that's different. That's different.
Y'all, so yesterday I went to the first day of Diddy's trial. It was the first day of jury selection, and man, was it a long day. We were there from like 9:30 to like 6:30.
Yeah. At night?
Yes.
Wow. Dang.
They went through. It was because there's a lot of jurors. There's like I think the pool is like anywhere from like 150, 175. I believe it's 150 people big.
So you got to see the jurors.
Not all of them, but yes. Because we couldn't do all of them in one day, but yes. So when I first got there, first of all, it was horrible day to have to be outside of anywhere. But I was outside and there was like tons of media press set up. So we did our intro into the fact that I'll be covering it for the latest with Lauren LaRosa. So you guys will see that on my YouTube channel. But there was a lot of media there, but not as much as I thought would be there, but I think it's because it's the first day. Once I got into the courtroom, I was told that I was already too late to go in the actual courtroom where Puff was going to be. So I went into an overflow room. So in the overflow room, all you could do was listen. So from 9:30 to like 2, maybe 1:30, I was just sitting there listening to juror after juror after juror after juror. Y'all, I felt like I was in school.
What did they do? Like interview them?
Yes, they interviewed them. So they have this list that they put together. It's a people and places list. And
Like,
then
have you ever heard No Way Out? Is that your favorite album? That type of stuff?
not those exact words, but similar to it. So they ask you, they ask people about different celebrities they know. Michael B. Jordan was on the list. Kid Cudi was on the list. Kanye West was on the list. Some of Diddy's family, including his kids, were on the list.
Did any of the jurors know any of them or no?
Yeah, there were some jurors who knew different people. So like there was.
Were they old?
It was old and young. So there was one woman. She was an older white woman. She thought Michael B. Jordan was Michael Jordan, but she knew that it was a celebrity. There was another girl
So they
who
picked
like.
her. They was like, "Oh, we taking her."
No,
Had to.
I'm trying. Yeah,
She
I think they
thought
picked her
Michael
because
B.
you could tell that
Jordan
like
was
she
Michael
honestly just
Jordan.
didn't
Let's
know.
stop there.
There was another girl. I didn't get to see her. This is when I was in overflow room. Who actually she knew everything. Like she was like she's a big fan of the '90s. She named multiple people. Lorianne Gibson was on the list, who was Diddy's choreographer and dance instructor for some years. She named her off the list.
She started singing songs. You can hate me now.
No, she didn't start singing songs, but she was the only person I heard that whole day identify Lorianne Gibson. So I'm like, oh, she really knows. But she said she used to watch Making the Band a lot.
Yes.
So yeah, they did that whole thing. They also there was a bunch of different places, like different hotels and things of that nature that Puff either would have been at, or like people that are of a celebrity or like a certain status go
Right.
to. They were trying to identify, if you know these places, have you been there, whatever.
Was the majority women, men, white,
It,
black?
it was mixed.
Right.
It was a very diverse pool. White, black, men, women, young, old. It was very, very diverse. There was one man that stood out to me. He actually was a juror who, because they give you these questions
Uh,
and they pull you in and they say, okay, this is the case you're going to do. Here's some preliminary questions, because we were trying to make sure there's no conflict, right?
Right.
So then when they come back, so when we seen them, this is them coming back after those questions. So a lot of the jurors had to update you and say, yo, since the last time I saw you, here's what's changed. One man got on the stand and basically said, my wife was one of the litigators. Remember that party that Puff had when there was a stampede and people passed away?
Yes.
His wife was one of the attorneys on that case. His wife found out from another woman or another person who was on the jury, who went back and told her significant other that she had seen him just in the pool, and then he works with the wife and was like, oh, your husband's on the Diddy case. And she came to her husband and was like, oh no, I hate him. I don't like him. So when he revealed that, they're like, no, like
Took him right off.
yeah, Diddy scene was just like, no, I don't like him. It's too definite, even though it's not the husband. There was an older black lady who they talked about, or who was there. A lot of them jurors, y'all saw that Cassie video. Like, I'm not even gonna hold you.
course.
How could
was
they?
everywhere.
How could they not? It was on CNN. It
Yeah.
literally was a CNN exclusive video.
That was the reoccurring theme. People kept bringing that up. So one woman said that she didn't see the full video, but she saw a screenshot of the video, and that it was very, can I say,
Damning?
Yes.
Yes, you can
it was very damning.
Such
And
a prude.
no, I don't know if we can say on the radio, but that got her excluded, meaning they're not going to use her as a juror, because they were like, wait, for you to even, she was like, it
Very
was
casted
damning.
judgment, yeah.
It was damning, but I can still make a clear and fair decision.
Yeah.
Diddy scene was like, nah, Hey, y'all, it's Lauren LaRosa from The Breakfast Club. Sorry to interrupt. Y'all-
Shit just seemed kind of crazy. Shit kind of crazy. Man.
And he said it in the courtroom. He had asked to go to the bathroom. He was like, excuse me, judge, I'm a little bit nervous. But you could tell at one point in time I saw, and I was watching him very closely, I saw like his hands shaking a bit, but very involved. He's fighting for his life, literally. Like, I mean, he came with like a case of paperwork. He was on the tablet sitting next to Brian Steele. He's reading every juror profile as things are happening. Like when that man revealed that his wife was a part of that litigation team,
Yep.
he's reacting with his attorneys. They're having conversations, but he's also, even though he's in all of that, still very like enduring. Like he was making them laugh.
Well,
They were having a good time.
The shaking of the hand, I don't think makes him nervous, but you remember when he was up there, his hand was shaking like that as well. So it might
He'd
be.
be
Okay.
nervous.
I don't know if it was nervous.
He
Maybe
was
he had
not
something
nervous in
wrong
this
with him.
room. He
Maybe
was
that's-
happy in this room.
It was his.
Especially
It was his left
when he
hand.
wiped up that champagne. That
I'm sure he's happy.
Oh, I remember that.
remember.
Yeah.
You know, Diddy had his own Met Gala in jail last night. You know
Oh,
that, right?
oh my God. Yo, Chess. Oh my
Super
God.
fine,
No.
tailoring black style. They was altering their jail suits,
Yes.
walking the red carpet, and the carpet is red because it's stained with blood from Bunkies.
Wait. You always
This
go too
guy's
far.
crazy.
No. Look, before we have to wrap this up, and I'm going to bring this back because I have a little bit more. There was one juror who said she had to admit the fact that she saw something on her timeline that she liked, and it was a Diddy joke. And they were like, what was the joke? And she was like, it was something about baby oil. And I was like, she going to say, just hilarious in the Breakfast Club. I just knew. She didn't, though.
Oh,
She
okay.
didn't. She couldn't remember, but I swear to God, I was like, I know she about to say it. But
So Florida probably just did the coolest thing I've seen any state do in a while.
Well,
Welcome to TMZ Live. Harvey Levin here. Earls here. So, jury selection continues in the Diddy case. We have some fascinating stories to tell you about certain jurors who were booted and certain jurors who were put through. But we got to start, ironically, with something that happened here at TMZ.
You went too far. Well, not you, but your co-host on the Two Angry Men podcast. He was called out. Mark Garagos called out by the prosecutors in Diddy's case because Mark was in court yesterday on day one of jury selection, and the prosecutors said they noticed that he was, the word they used was consulting that Diddy's attorneys, he has 7 attorneys, actually he added an 8th today.
Right.
But his attorneys were turning around in the gallery and the prosecutor said consulting with Garagos about jury selection. And the problem for that, what the prosecutors say is he can't do this because he's on a podcast where he is talking about this case every week.
So in other words, there's
a rule where you can't do both.
Well, what they're saying is they're saying that he is in some form or fashion part of the
Working
defense
with the
team,
defense.
and if he's part of the defense team, there's a
can't be
gag
making
order
statements
that
about-
requires him not to make these statements. So they're saying that he's violated the rule, that he is part of the defense team. Now, I don't know.
He's going to say that he's part of it.
And I don't know if the judge is going to say whether he's part of the defense team or not, because I don't know what he was saying or whatever.
The prosecutors wrote a letter to the judge saying, you need to please remind Mr. Garagos of this rule.
Interesting, in the letter, they pointed out a particular thing Garagos said on the podcast. So the prosecution now, we know, it just came out today, that they have 5 lawyers on the team, all of whom are...
Guys, the other day I was talking to one of my friends, and somehow in the midst of conversation, we started talking about the stress of like bills being due, especially when you're in between paychecks. One of his solutions for him.
6? 6. Now, the ones I have, all women. Is the 6th a woman?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
6 women, all white. All white.
Correct. That's my understanding. I've only seen or know of a couple of them, but my understanding is you got a 6-pack of white women.
That's not coincidental.
It's very interesting to me. But, when prosecutors try to get too cute, you referenced O.J. Simpson, sometimes it comes back and backfires.
Interesting. I think
6-pack?
they referenced exactly that in this letter to the judge.
Remember, the prosecutors are the ones who wrote the letter to the judge. I don't know if they would have liked the reference to them as a 6-pack.
It sounded like they did not.
And there were other things in the podcast, but they clearly heard the podcast or watched it and took issue with him talking so openly about the case. Although I'm sure when they saw it or heard it, they didn't have an issue with it. It was when he showed up in court and appeared to them to be working.
Now, we don't know what the resolution is, at least at this moment, whether the judge is saying he's part of the team or not part of the team. I don't know what they're going to ultimately do.
Well, we don't know, but remember, Diddy has complained in the past about the prosecutors sort of speaking out in public and trying this case in the media. He's had his attorneys complain about these very same things. So in the letter, the prosecutors say, hey, you didn't want a carnival atmosphere. You didn't want us making you look guilty beforehand.
Well, first of all, don't call 2 Angry Men a carnival. Don't do that.
That's the best compliment 2 Angry Men has ever gotten. What, are you kidding me? And he's saying, look, you can't have a big public mouthpiece and be part of this team. You got to pick one or the other.
Okay. So, by the way, he also said that he was going to be back next week. Do we know, is he going to be, if the judge makes him choose, what's Mark going to do?
I'm always last to know.
Great.
But let's talk about jury
selection.
selection, because there have been some interesting interactions between potential jurors, the judge, and the lawyers in the case.
Yeah, there are some jurors, obviously, who've been excluded, and what's interesting is the ones are being excluded and the ones that aren't being excluded. There was one man who said that his son had been beaten up while he was a student at George Washington University. And the judge said, well, do you know who attacked him? And he said, I was told it was 3 young black men. And they said, well, can you be unbiased? He said, people are people. And everybody was cool with that.
Including the defense.
Including the defense.
Which is interesting because when we've done a bunch of documentaries for Tubi on this trial, and what we were told was they were going to stay clear of any domestic violence or violence, especially if it relates to a family member. But they seem to be particularly concerned about women who were alleged victims. This is a man.
This is a man whose son, yeah.
And they let it through.
Yeah.
Now, there's another one where it sounds to me like this juror was doing somersaults to get out of jury service, saying, I can't sit through a trial because I have to constantly go to the bathroom.
Yes, she said that she has stomach aches and that she would need to take a lot of bathroom breaks.
And then the judge said...
She apologized and said, I'm sorry, I know that's too much information.
But then the judge said, well, can you sit through a movie?
And she had to admit, she's like, yes, I can.
But that's the equivalent of the time before a recess.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
But then she had other things.
But hold on, I just want to say, that's unfair to say that just because you can sit through a movie, you could sit through...
That's why the judge asked the question.
Yeah, but if you can sit through it, even though you're sitting there, I just want to put yourself in that woman's shoes, if you will. If you're sitting there and you really have to go to the bathroom, yes, you can tell yourself, I can hold it, but you're thinking about that the whole time, and now you're not focused on the actual
I get it, but then they
case.
started asking other questions, and it sounded like she just did not want to have a surgery.
Yes, she also said that she had a surgery, and that she had COVID, and all sorts of medical issues.
She got out.
They actually ended up excluding her.
When you make these excuses, a judge does have to press you because you don't want to signal to other jurors that, hey, if you say you have a stomach ache or a small bladder, you'll automatically be excused. They have to press on these issues because ultimately, even though they have almost 600 people sitting there, they got to have 18 people at the end of the day, the 12 jurors and the 6 alternates, so you can't let people walk based on the minor sort of issues that they raise.
My name is Hendo. I'm from Chicago, and I just want to say that what did we expect?
Nobody cares, buddy. Yeah, man. So, y'all see what's going on with that. Lot of smoke, mirrors, bells and whistles, and a bunch of hoopla. Let's see what's going on with day 3.